Hey, this is Dave from the Plastic Lumber Store. In this video, we're going to talk about types and styles of plastic and what's the difference between them. What you might have found at the store anywhere in the last 20 years is something called a composite. And composites are 40% plastic and 60% sawdust. They have various issues with them, mold and mildew, staining, fading. Water that sits on top will make it swell and eventually delaminate. Can't put them in water, such as a dock or anything that's near a creek or a lake, or even you got to be careful in the backyard on the decks and have the proper spacing so the water drains off of it so it doesn't pool and create those other types of problems we discussed. But if you use a product that is 100% plastic, you won't have any of those issues whatsoever. Now, knowing the difference between what you find at the store and what you get at a shop like mine, I want to take you through the different grades and styles of plastic. The first one I'd like to start with, we call this utility grade plastic. And utility grade plastic is exactly the same. It's a high density polyethylene, but if you can imagine when you throw away your milk jug, it has a top on it. Well, if you took that top off, you have added labor to separate those plastics and keep all the clears in one jug and keep all the tops in another. Well, that's what they have to do on the other end. When you throw your plastics away, the first sorting, if you ever look at the bottom of your plastics, you'll see a number 1 through 7. That's the different types of plastics. We're number 2. We're a high density polyethylene. So first you're going to get all the number 2s together, and then you're going to get a person who takes all of those and sorts them by color, clarity, and density. A Tide bottle is still a polyethylene, but it is typically more dense, more heavy duty. If you go feel it, that's typically an ultra high molecular weight plastic. There's also low density polyethylenes, which are, as you can imagine, much thinner, much more flexible. So inside of a family such as a polyethylene, there are many different types inside of that. Now, for the most part, we stick with the high density. Wanted to show you a couple of bags. Number one, here's a bag of pellets. This is actual material that goes right into the extruders. Now this has been, you could see in this example where it literally has just been ground up and put right into a bag. Those pieces are smaller than your fingernail. This one takes it to another level where they grind it all up and then they extrude it, and this is called pelletization. They make little pellets that are very uniform, and that gives you a much more uniform product. Here's what you were imagining, I guess. In this, you could see the different white, clear, red, orange, green colors that are in there. This is largely unsorted. So if you can imagine having to sort all this and put colors alike together so that you will get that particular color once you're done producing, that's what you're after. Now, knowing this is the base material and we're adding gray, this is what you would expect to see. On the surface, it's going to be completely gray. You might have a few renegade pieces that show through, but by and large, you're only going to see that on the ends. Now, if you look at this end, that's the end that came out of the mold, and so it's pretty nice and finished and flush. But this is the end that got cut, and so you'll see those flecks of material in there that didn't melt all the way and didn't take all the gray color. That's what we're talking about with a utility grade, is that some people like the looks of this and it looks recycled to them. Some people do not like the looks of this, but as far as performance, it's going to last pretty much the same. Now, step up from this is what we just talked about with sorting the plastic, and you end up with a very color consistent product all the way through. You can see top, bottom, middle. No matter where you cut that, you're going to get a very consistent color, and that lends itself to a higher end deck, being able to cut and router this and fashion it in shapes, all sorts of creative projects with it. But believe it or not, now you can't see very many bubbles on this end, but you see them more on this end. And there is a chemical that gets put in here called blowing agent, and that creates those bubbles, just like you saw the bubbles in that product. Those bubbles tend to make that board stronger, and these both could be used for decking. Whereas the next grade up from there, so we went utility and premium, and now we're into something called a furniture grade. And this furniture grade is very, very consistent. You can see the differences between them. You can actually see it, maybe a few little pock marks there. This is a product that is cavity molded or put into a steel mold and then cooled and kicked out, whereas this is an extruded product and you get a very consistent finish all the way through. But moreover, I want you to look at the end there, and you don't see any bubbles whatsoever. That's because now when you cut this and router it, you end up with a very professional finished look to it, and that's what we want in furniture. So we tend to use this, even though you probably wouldn't use this for a deck because you'd need to support it much more than you do this. However, this has 45 colors, and really any color can be done if you're ordering enough. But there are 45 stock colors here, whereas there's more like 15 colors here. And in the utility grade, you're down to about 4 or 5. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between those. Now, if you want to take it up a level, we take the premium grade and we add fiberglass flakes to it. And even though you can't really see them that well, I'll put this up next to this. There are fiberglass flakes in this product, and that gives it structural rigidity, which makes it load bearing, which means that you can use this to support a deck or support other products that, say, a sign that you know it's 8 foot out of the ground, you don't want it to bend, you want it to be rigid and be there for a lot of years. You're going to use more of a structural reinforced product. Lastly, the super structural is they take this kind of a rod, and this is a completely fiberglass rod. It's got like 1,000,000 pounds of square inch compression strength on it. Incredible. You can make bridges out of this, okay? But they insert this rod into the plastic. So again, we take the fiberglass reinforced plastic and we insert this rod the length of the product, and you end up with something that looks like this. And these rods then, in this particular one, it's top and bottom. As you get bigger on the profile, they go into each corner. They can be put all around the perimeter. There's lots of different things that can be done with this, but this really becomes a substitute for steel. You could build a bridge and drive over it. Really see this more in the industrial, commercial, governmental use. We've built bridges. We've done, especially on the waterways, like the barges and the ships that hit the various the bridges or the other structures, or even the banks. This will protect that from those heavy ships that crash into it, and it'll never rot and never wear out. So it's a very good choice for a governmental agency, but probably cost prohibitive for you to do your deck in the backyard. Which brings me back full circle to the deck in your backyard. This is a great deck product, and you could go right over the wood frame that you already have. Just know that that wood frame is going to wear out far beyond or far in front of this product. So what you may want to consider is putting that deck on the ground and using this type of product where this can sit on the ground. It's got 52,000 pounds of square inch compression strength, which is plenty for your neighborhood party. But to have this on the ground and then to be able to put this up on top of it, and this will make a structure that will last longer than your house. So I know we've covered a lot of ground in a short time, and I really wanted to kind of talk about, you know, what's available to you. Obviously the price changes right up the scale as you add more to it or give it additional flexibility. So please call for a quote. Be glad to talk you through your project and figure out what the right one is for you, and then get you a quote so you have an idea of what you're going to need for a budget. You can reach me at david@plasticlumberstore.net. You can see our website at plasticlumberstore.net. Please visit our Facebook page. Also have a YouTube page. And we'd love to hear your comments. Love to see the pictures of your creative projects. Thanks.